you for taking some time to review some of our important information that's been updated for our Season 2 sports. Today we're going to talk about a few different topics. We're going to start by talking about our safety guidelines. We're also going to talk about our emergency action plans, what Positive Coaching Alliance or PCA and Triple Impact Competitor are all about. We'll go over our expectations, our student, parent, and coach agreement. We'll talk about eligibility, register my athlete, remind. Those will all be topics that we discussed tonight. At Anderson Junior High, we strive to produce outstanding student athletes who demonstrate exceptional sportsmanship, academic excellence, and leadership in the community. We have made some adjustments this year through EVC, our East Valley Conference, in order to make Season 1 and Season 2 athletes available to participate in sports this year. Some of the things that we have done at this point: all administrators, coaches, sponsors, directors, leads have all been trained in COVID-19 guidelines, both at our district and our school levels. All students have been cleared or must be cleared in order to be able to participate. That'll be Register My Athlete that we talk about a little bit later. Due to limited facilities, tryouts may exceed 50 participants, and we just want to be upfront and honest with families about that. We'll go over a lot of our processes and procedures to ensure that students are safe during those times, but we just want to let you know that during tryouts we may go over that 50 number. In addition, we also follow different changes and modifications that have been made at the AIA level, which is our high school athletic association, for specific sports. During Season 1, they had specific rules for volleyball and football. This season, we're going to focus more on football, and coaches will talk more about that during your family meetings once the teams have been set. Unified sports will be starting this quarter. Those guidelines are the same guidelines that we follow for EBC, and you will get more information from Coach Hepler and Coach Horton prior to the season beginning. We are ready to enter into Season 2. Season 1 went great. We are, as you can tell, the seasons are very close together. So just some important dates to know for Season 2. Tryouts are going to start on 11/30. Due to AIA pushing back the start of winter season until January 5th, we have also postponed some games. So now our scheduled games will begin in January when we return on the 6th. We're going to hold 6-game seasons, and then we will wrap up the playoffs in the end of January, and the season will be over by February 3rd. All right, I want to start by talking about our new safety guidelines or adjustments that we've made this after Season 1 to our safety guidelines. Face coverings. Our students and our athletes, our coaches, families during Season 1 have done a great job with this one, but face coverings must be worn by coaches, sponsors, directors at all times in all public areas. Students should wear face coverings unless they're active in a drill or in the competition of a game. Students are always welcome to wear their face covering during competition, but may choose not to during times when they are active. Teams and clubs are going to have plans, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, for what to do with those face coverings during games and during practices. And we also, one thing we found in Season 1 is for our athletes, we definitely highly recommend students bring multiple face coverings, one for school and one for sport, just because it may get sweaty and then they may not want to have it for the rest of the day. It's always a great idea to have an extra one. They are required, and students refusing to wear them or repeatedly taking them off after receiving warnings are going to be removed from their teams, and we will talk to them as well as families about those requirements if those situations come up. We want to let you know that we sanitize and clean everything regularly. Every team has spray bottles, gloves, sanitizers, and rags that are laundered every single day. We're going to do our best to check out individual gear whenever possible. We've spent a good amount of money from our budget this year, making sure that we have enough items to provide students with individual items in those sports where they share equipment. For example, softball. If a student has their own helmet, that's great. We encourage them to bring it. If a student doesn't have a helmet, we'll actually check them out one at the beginning of the year. Same thing with gloves. If a student needs a glove, we'll check out gloves at the beginning of the year, just like we would uniforms. And then they will have those for the remainder of the year. And then we'll check all of that stuff in. Everything that is individual student items, we ask you just to clean that stuff every day, and we ask students to keep that stuff in their own areas. So coaches will go over those procedures with you when they have their meetings. But we also routinely are cleaning those items that are shared, because there are items that will always be shared in sports, such as basketballs. Obviously, those are going to be touched by multiple students, and we've got routines and procedures in place to ensure that those get cleaned often. Our large areas are always disinfected every single day with sanitizer. Some of those areas include the gym, the locker room, wrestling rooms, outdoor areas like their benches and dugouts. Those are also taken care of. All right, next we're going to talk about locker rooms. Locker rooms are limited access, and we ask students, if they don't need to use them, not to use them. So if a team is practicing in the morning, we ask you to come ready for practice. That way you don't have to change. Students won't have access to locker rooms before school, so they'll need to come ready for practice in their uniform. When they're in the locker room, we ask them to stay socially distanced and wear their face coverings. All students' possessions go in with them and go out with them. We don't allow anything to be stored in our locker rooms. Just like always, no cleats should be worn in the locker room at any time. And when students are ready, they will wait in designated areas that their coaches have given them. Um, for example, on game days, which we'll talk about in a moment. Coaches will check in students when they arrive. We'll talk about that when we're talking about our screening. So everybody on our campus is asked to self-screen themselves every single day. All staff and students are required to self-screen for any observable COVID-19 symptoms prior to coming to a CUSD event or activity. When students arrive, either before or after school, it doesn't matter which time, the coach will do a screening of all players in order to ensure that everybody has that we've screened every student to make sure that they're not showing symptoms, and that we can protect everybody's safety. During games, officials, medical staff, media, any person that's on the campus or anybody that's attending is also asked to screen themselves. And then also, if any person that has COVID symptoms, we ask you to notify school personnel, call our front office, and we ask you not to come to school. If a student comes to school and they're not feeling well, then they will be asked to go home and isolate. If you want more information on our screening process, it does change from time to time, so it may adjust through this season. But please reach out to myself or Linda Pardo, and we can get you more information anytime. The form looks like this when the students come in. It's changed a little bit. We're always adapting with these COVID times, and we're adjusting our procedures. But it's similar to this. All the students' names will be on the coach's form. They'll write down the time they come in, and they'll ask them these questions: Do you have a fever? Do you have a cough? Have you had a sore throat? And we ask that our students answer these questions truthfully. We understand nobody wants to miss games or be out, but we also want to make sure that um, everybody's safe and nobody's forced to be um, exposed to COVID or other symptoms that are out there, or other diseases, because students aren't being truthful on the form. So it's really important that students are honest and disclose any information that the coaches ask them for. If coaches identify students by watching them, looking at them, and they see that they're exhibiting symptoms, they may also pull them and ask them to be removed from practice at that time. When we do screenings, they occur socially distanced, so we separate them out. And if a team is meeting in a classroom, they also are going to social distance outside that classroom and follow the screening procedures. Big question we always get is what happens if a student says yes to the questions. At the time that the student says yes, that student will be isolated, and that means just asked to move to a location away from other students. And then the coach is going to contact you to pick up your student, and the health office or myself, we will contact you or contact the family to discuss whatever next steps need to be taken. This season, during season 2, we are not going to be allowing spectators at sports. This is a change from season 1, but due to the rise in cases and the metrics system that we follow, right now there's not going to be spectators allowed. So it's really important that parents know where to drop students off. In the morning, if you have a morning practice, parents are going to drop off at the bus ramp, and then the student is going to go to their designated check-in area. Coaches will let you know where those will be, but they'll go to those spaces with their face coverings on and remain socially distanced while the coach follows the screening procedures to get them into the gym and get practice started. It's really important that athletes come prepared in the morning, come with water. No locker room is available before. The coaches are going to screen students and then send them to designated areas. They might refer to them as pods or groups. And then they're also going to work together with other teams to help ensure that we have supervision. In the afternoon, athletes are going to come through the gym, and they're going to space out while they wait for their coaches to do the screening and go into the locker room to change for practice. They're only going to have a limited amount of time while they're there, so they should go into the locker room, get changed, and then go directly to where the coaches asked them to go to. Once again, coaches are going to screen students and send students to groups or areas and work with other coaches to make sure we have supervision at all times. At the conclusion of practice, athletes are not going to have access to the locker room. They're going to go straight from practice to the bus ramp, where we ask parents to pick up at the time that's designated by the coach. They'll let you know what time those will be. On game days, it's very similar to the afternoon practices. All students are going to go through the locker rooms, go into the gym and through the locker room, follow the screening process, and then they will exit out to where the coach has asked them to go. Once again, gathering limitations. When students are not directly participating in contests, we're going to take extra precautions to maintain minimum distance of 6 feet and maintain that face covering requirement. Coaches will go over that information with you because that looks very different from sport to sport. Hydration is always important when we're talking about athletics. So It's really important that every student brings their own water bottles. We're not sharing water bottles this year. We have retrofitted our water jugs with new new spouts that allow for contactless water filling. But it's important that each student has their own water bottle. They're not going to be able to share. If you got morning practice, it's also really helpful to bring that with. Water jugs are going to be provided, and coaches will schedule water breaks throughout the practice, and that's when students will refill their water bottles. And then coaches will also sanitize them behind them, so we make sure that those water jugs are clean. Students will get water cups if they forget their water bottles, but this becomes a lot more tedious for coaches. It becomes can become a safety issue if we have too many students using cups. They are single-use cups and they get thrown away right after. But please, please, please bring a water bottle with you every single day. Just like we said before, concession stands will not be open right now, especially since we're not going to be allowing spectators for season 2. We'll talk more about our athletic eligibility in a little bit, but tutoring is still going to take place. Athletic tutoring will be required for students with an F. They're required to attend the tutoring with that teacher that they have an F in for a minimum once that following week until they have their grade time. Because we can't allow volunteers on campus, unfortunately, right now we are not able to do our Tuesday tutoring, but academics come first, and we'll talk more later about what that academic eligibility process looks like. All right, on game days, the big change for season 2, once again, is we're not going to be able to have any spectators at this time. We will continue to monitor health metrics and determine when spectators will be allowed again. But keep your eyes open on our social media and on Remind. We'll send that information out as it becomes available. Transportation this year, because of our wanting to try to limit the number of students on transportation, we definitely are allowing parents to drive students to and from games if they wish to. I'll go over the form in just a moment, but students and parents can use that. We call it the Form F transportation waiver if they wish to transport students independently. If you did this season 1, we're going to ask you to fill it out again each season so that each coach will know who is getting picked up. Also, one thing that we want to remind families of is they still are going to go through the check-in process. They're still going to do a screening, and then they will come out to the bus area. But when instead of getting on the bus, that's when the coach will release them to your vehicle. So please park in the parking lot or in a space where your student can identify where you're at, and the coaches will just make contact with you so that they know that your student's getting in the vehicle with you and that you're going to meet them at the game. Once again, the face coverings are required on all CUSD transportation to and from. We're going to do our best to socially distance students on buses, depending on sizes of teams. That's not always 6 feet, but we do our best to ensure that all the students are socially distanced as best as possible. So this is what the form looks like, our Form F. Option A is for the students to drive themselves, and being as we don't have any 16-year-old students, I'm not going to bother going over that one with you. Option B is to have students travel with you as the parent or guardian. So you would just say that it's okay for them to travel with you. You'll write down your name or any other parent guardians that may be transporting your student, and mark option B. You can also, if you wish, allow your student to ride with another responsible adult, such as a teammate's family. You can designate that it's okay for them to go with that student, and you'll mark option C and list that student or list that parent name there. All of these Form Fs get turned into our athletic office so that we can communicate that information with our coaches. If you have any questions, always feel free to contact me or Miss Pardo. All right. Once we get into the season, your coaches will be giving you a completed team and club safety plan. This gives you that more individualized information for each team. So how they plan to sanitize individual items, social distancing, how to arrive and leave their practices and games, and then other sport specific information. So you'll look for that when the season has begun. General best practice, continue all of the good hygiene practices, washing your hands, avoid touching your face, sneezing and coughing into a tissue or inside your elbow. Please don't spit. Disinfect frequently, and continue using face coverings. We strongly suggest everyone uses them anytime they're in public, so that we can limit the spread and keep our athletes competing and keep them safe. If you feel sick, stay home. We want everybody to err on the side of safety. So don't go to work or school. Contact your medical provider. Do not come to practice. Avoid contact with other team members. And don't return until you've met the CDC requirements to return. All right, next we're going to talk about our emergency action plans. It's really important that everybody understands these in case we ever find ourselves in an emergency situation. So we ask, anytime we're in an emergency situation, remain calm and follow the directions of the announcer, coach, or administrator. Communication will go out through Infinite Campus Messenger as well as Remind. So it's really important that you will have access to both of those, and I'll give you directions on how to sign up for Remind a little bit later. In a lockdown situation, families, we will use Remind as our primary contact. And we ask in a lockdown that you don't try to pick up your student until they've been released by school personnel. Please do not come to the school until you've been directed to. I know that's going to be the number one thing. I know we all want our students to be safe, and we want to be there to help. But in an emergency lockdown situation, the best thing to do is just remain calm and wait for communication from our athletic office or from police through Remind and Infinite Campus Messenger. Indoor activities, these are directions that we give to all of our students. Our coaches will go over this with them, but also we hope that we will have fans again this season. So during a fire, we ask everyone to evacuate to the football field. During a lockdown, remain seated and wait for directions. During practices, all teams are going to move to a room that can be secured, remain silent, and mute their cell phones. We don't want their phones going off. We don't want the lights coming out of them. So it's really important that they're not using their cell phones unless they've been directed by a coach, administrator, or the police department. During outdoor activities, fire, you're going to move the furthest possible point from campus that they can. During a lockdown, at a game, they're going to follow the announcer's directions, and we're going to either go to the inside of our gym or we're going to go to another secured area that we can move to. During practice, they're going to move to the nearest room they can secure and remain silent, mute those cell phones again, and wait for coaches, administrators, or police departments to send information. All right, next we're going to talk about positive coaching alliance and expectations. Once again, at Anderson Junior High School, our mission is that we strive to produce outstanding student athletes who demonstrate exceptional sportsmanship, academic excellence, and leadership in the community. This year, we set 3 goals. Our academic goal is to have 80% eligibility at the end of each season. I'm really excited to announce that at the last eligibility that we ran, we were at 90% for season 1, so we met our goal first quarter. We're also going to create a Triple Impact Competitor of the Year award as our character goal, and we're going to create and complete a community service project as a community goal this year. Positive Coaching Alliance is our character ed program that we use. Coaches are promoting positive lessons with athletes throughout the season. You may hear them talk about Triple Impact Competitor. Triple Impact competitors are recognized weekly for demonstrating the characteristics of Triple Impact competitors. That is, someone that improves oneself, teammates, and the game as a whole. So making themselves better means that they have committed themselves to improving him or herself, always looking for ways to perform better. Teammates, help your teammates through positive reinforcement and prioritizing team success over individual success. These are people that focus on helping others. And finally, game, those that respect the rules, opponents, officials, teammates, and self, they strive to make the game better. So now we're going to look a little bit closer into each of our goals. So the first, that academic goal. The CUSD policy for eligibility is that grade check is run every Thursday of the season. Grade checks will be run for informational purposes only until CUSD designated eligibility dates for each season. That'll be communicated to you as we get closer to the eligibility period. It'll start after the fourth game of the season this year. Any student athlete deemed ineligible must sit out a minimum of 1 game the following week, or until they have passing grades. And then also after progress reports each Thursday, grade checks will be for informational purposes, and the stipulations from above are in effect. At Anderson, we strive to produce athletes that are successful in the classroom. So on Thursdays, once the eligibility is reported, students will receive a form. You'll see that form here in a little bit. Coaches will be notified of the eligibility, and the form must be completed and signed by the parent or guardian prior to any activity the following week. When the teachers receive the student's form, they verify the grade, sign off on the signature line, write the time and date of when the student's going to go to tutoring the following week, and then communicate any information that needs to go home to families. On the weekend, that student, if they receive a form, is going to bring that home to the parent and guardian, review their plan with you. They're going to come up with a plan of action, and then they're going to review that, and you're going to sign it. And then on Monday, coaches will review the form with the athlete, discuss their plan of action, and make a plan moving forward in order to get those grades up so that they will be eligible to participate. Once a student is eligible, the athletic department will communicate to the coach and student. They may not play in a game until they have been cleared by the athletic department, not a coach, not a teacher. The only person that can clear them is the athletic department. This is what that eligibility form looks like. So every season it changes colors, so you'll be on the lookout for that form. Another quick rundown of what that looks like every week. All right, that second goal is our character goal, create a Triple Impact Competitor of the Year award. student behavior starts with the adults. So we ask all adults to be role models to our student athletes. Um, when we're in attendance, we ask that everybody is responsible and composes themselves well in the way that we hope that our students will also follow. Behavior behavior is part of our student parent coach agreement. A student may serve a suspension from the team or be released from the team if they are experiencing behavior issues with the team or at school. This includes suspensions or reoccurring referrals, even for different violations. The student is representing the school when wearing a uniform, and we hold our student athletes to a high standard and expect them to be respectful and responsible. Parent and spectator expectations, once again, sportsmanship, respect, positive behaviors, that's what we want to model for our students. Family members that aren't following those policies and procedures may be asked to not attend future AJHS or CUSD events. All right, there is times when possibly you will be not satisfied or upset with something going on with the team. So here's kind of the process we ask everybody to follow. If there is a parent concern, please follow the following order. So first, please contact the coach, but please give them 24 hours. We don't want anybody to go to the coaches upset about things in the heat of the moment. We ask everybody to wait 24 hours so that we can have a responsible conversation about whatever the concern is. If you talk to the coach and you're not satisfied, please contact the school athletic director. That's myself. My phone number is right there, as well as my email address. If you don't like my answer, you're welcome to contact our principal, Allison Stewart. And then the next person to contact would be our district athletic director, Marcus Williams. And if you're still upset and we haven't been able to resolve whatever the issue is, the assistant superintendent is Craig Gilbert. Our student athlete leadership team has been around now for 2.5 years. We're really excited about what they do. That's a group that meets every month, discuss leadership on an athletic team, as well as serve as a voice for their teammates to help make Anderson athletics the best it can be. They created last year a spectator expectation. Those are listed on the screen here. Being as we don't have spectators right now, I'm not going to read these to you, but feel free to pause and read through those. They've done a great job to create expectations that mirror what students want to see when people come to games. All right, your parent, coach, and student agreement form will be handed out at a practice or a parent meeting that'll be coming up. Those forms are due prior to the student participating in competition, so it's really important that you read over these, and we ask you to turn those into coaches. Register My Athlete. Hopefully by now everyone has completed Register My Athlete for this season. It's software that does a great job to help us with communication and tracking all of the forms that we used to do by hand. Is all now tracked through Register My Athlete. It increases communication between the school and parents. Best part is you only have to complete it one time and then update it every year. Helps coaches and administrator also to track eligibility and injury management. All right, Register My Athlete. On Register My Athlete, you must have a physical completed that's after March 1st, and then it must be completed and updated. We had a physical event. Unfortunately, this was in the past. I know we had a great turnout for that, but if you still need to get a physical, Fast Med Urgent Care on Ray Road does a discount for all Anderson students, so you can contact them and let them know your student goes to Anderson, and they will get you they'll give you a discount on that physical for sports. All right, we've talked about Remind a little bit. Here's what's important. Please pause the video, text JAGSPORT to 85050 to sign up if you have not done so already. You'll also receive this form from the coaches with the athletic group, as well as your team group to sign up for. You'll get the code for each of them. It helps make communication with parents easier and faster for coaches and administrators. Things that we communicate out are practice time changes, game changes, team accomplishments, grade and behavior, parent notifications also will come there through that from coaches. All right. Next, I'm going to talk to you about Dignity Health, who is our medical provider for athletic services. This is what we will go over. We've had a great partnership with Dignity Health. They provide athletic trainers that are on our site, and they also provide walk-in clinics for student athletes. So because students are because your student is a student athlete at Anderson, they have some additional things available to them. We have our on-site physical therapy or on-site athletic trainers. We also have protocols that we follow with them. And then also network of referral pathways if needed. These are some of the people that are the key people when it comes to Dignity Health at Chandler Unified School District. You may see some of these faces around at games. All right, so the purpose is to provide safety for our athletes, take care of those small injuries on the spot, and then also help with injury and illness management and communication. They will do follow-up care, communicating with the patient, giving you home exercises, things to help relieve whatever the ailment might be. Do a follow-up referral, and then check in with students at each game. And they can set up appointments with our trainers at their high school facilities. All right, so COVID related things the protocols that they follow, they're always wearing a mask. They may ask you to social distance when working with a student during an injury. Sanitation is always a priority, and they also screen themselves prior to coming every single day. Concussions at the beginning of each season, we do baseline testing, and then they will do evaluations, diagnose students with concussion symptoms. They can remove students from an activity if needed, and then they will be your contact person if your student gets a concussion. They will be the people you'll be working with to help your student get back to games. Here are some of the expectations for families. And then here again is that network that they have. All of these facilities are places that if you need to get a physical, you could also go to them as well. But specialty locations. If you have any questions, there's a phone number on the bottom, 480-964-2908, that you can contact. Thank you for taking some time to review these Season 2 safety and season expectations. Once again, my name is Alex Randall. My contact information is on the screen there. Feel free to call me anytime, or Linda Pardo. She can help you with anything as well. Thank you for your time. Please follow us on social media. Go Jags.